This is episode 81.
Welcome to the Ultimate Deck Podcast.
Ultimate Deck Podcast.
Helping you keep your finger firmly pressed on the decking industry, the people in it, and the information you need to master the backyard. And now, host of the Ultimate Deck Podcast, Shane Chapman.
This is Shane, this is Wade, and this is the Ultimate Deck Podcast on rainy Saturday morning. We haven't gotten much for rain yet this year, but drizzling out there a little bit.
I doubt it's raining across Canada.
Probably not across Canada. Just
Good timing, though.
We just give the local weather and then the non-local news.
The farmers are like 96% crop in the ground. A little bit of rain now.
I promise you they're not getting the rain, though. We only get the rain in the cities.
Right, yeah.
Every time it rains
Where it
here, I
benefits
think,
other people.
oh, this will be great for my in-laws because they farm and they need the rain. And then I phone them, they're like, nope, not raining here.
Went around us.
Never rains where you need it. Pure sun in Ontario, says Kevin, and Susa says, morning, boys. And the reason where that's coming from, where I'm reading those from, is from Instagram, because we're on live on Instagram again, as we always are. So beautiful in Chicago.
Susa, I thought of you just the other day. Some lady from Edmonton called, and she wanted to buy a heat-con kit to bend some PVC boards. And she said, but maybe I don't need to buy it if there's somebody in Edmonton that could do it for me. Yeah. And I was like, I know a guy.
Does she know what those things cost?
She does now.
Yeah. Pay the guy.
And she's going to pay the guy.
Yeah, $8,000 for the kit, and then she wrecks 25 boards trying it. And that's cheaper just to hire Steve.
Yeah, she was going to bend. She was going to try and bend some fiber on Good Life. And
yeah, okay.
Like,
38 boards she'll wreck then.
Nope, that's not going to work.
Yeah. Okay, today's topic. Do you want to get to Simcoe news before we get to that?
Yeah, it's not like nothing crazy going on in there, but
it's it's a town smaller than Regina. I don't imagine there's anything ever too crazy going on there.
This will be a good one. People are going to like this one.
What's happening in Simcoe? Let's go.
So, bird watching has surged in popularity since COVID has come out.
I thought you said there was nothing exciting happening in Simcoe this week.
Yeah. So apparently there's some bald eagles and some owls around there, and people are really, really taking to this bird watching.
In the Alliston area?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a popular nesting spot for bird of prey. So
that's kind of cool. If
everybody's at home.
It's all like bald eagles and stuff.
Yeah. Well, everybody's at home, so they're watching the birds now.
The fish are back in the canal in Italy, and the eagles are back in Barrie.
Look at them. The eagles have landed.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
still just as many Canadian geese here as there always is. They're just everywhere.
And then the other story that I saw here that I thought was of interest was this one. Well, I can't. I forget where it was. Oh, yeah, right here. There was 13 arrest warrants, and they were all because of $1,000 bills that were like counterfeit ones.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, counterfeit $1,000 bills.
Mike's got quite the racket going on there, hey? What was he doing? He's selling drugs.
I just thought it was happening because they're so close to the like government. You know, they're so much closer to Ottawa than we are, and that's where money gets printed. And so now Simcoe's like, well, if Justin can print money, so can I.
Oh, yeah.
I'll print money.
Probably, yeah.
Boom.
Why not?
Off it goes.
So you're allowed to do that now.
There's your political jab for the day.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so Simcoe. People are watching birds and making money.
That's happening in town. Printing birds. Not printing birds. Nobody
printed a bird. Okay, well, that's it.
Printing money's for the birds. Our topic today is 10 reasons why you should spend your renovation money on a deck as opposed to other renovations that you might be able to do. Because
we don't sell kitchens.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we do outdoor kitchens.
This would be a strategically terrible podcast topic to be like, you should do your bathroom. So,
have you thought about painting your walls?
Yeah.
I know a guy who's got a paint store.
We're pretty busy right now, so maybe save the deck for next year and help us manage our staffing schedules a little bit easier. But the reason this is maybe a little bit topical right now is because there's a number of people, and I don't know what the stats are.
Make it up.
16% of people.
Yep, that's good. I believe
had trips planned to Europe this year.
Oh, yeah.
And Bryce just like wide-eyed as if that was a real statistic. He's like, "What? Really?
Yeah, or he thinks
That
he's got to
seems
fact
so
check
high.
that.
That seems so high." 16 people, 16% of people had trips planned to Europe.
Pretty significant difference there, buddy. That percentage.
22% of people had trips planned to Asia.
Nope, that's wrong. Less people were going to Asia.
What are
than
we at
Europe.
now? 38%.
Yeah.
Another 44% had trips planned down to the States.
Yep.
These are Canadian statistics.
Yep.
And so what are we at now? 80. I don't even know what numbers I've said so far.
16, 22, and 48.
And 48?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we have here now?
Well, that's
70,
86.
86% of people had big trips planned this year. And the other 14% had trips planned too. Just
Locally.
I don't have those stats.
They were going to Katepwa.
They were not going very far.
Yeah.
They have smaller RENO budgets now.
200-kilometer radius.
So these people, these 86% of people that have 50 grand saved up to do their trips that they were going to take this year, now need to spend it somewhere. Wow. Listen, I don't make this shit up. Okay. These stats.
Yeah, you can't make shit up like that.
You cannot make those up. So now you've got these people sitting around. They've got money saved because they were planning these big trips all over the world, and they've
been to
take them
Simcoe.
now. They've done the bird watching. They've paid to hike the trail.
Oh,
and they still have a little bit of money left over after
Yeah.
hiking the trail.
No wonder they were printing $1,000 bills. They're charging for walking out there.
Yeah. The only place, like,
Oh, here's a trail. Yeah, but you gotta buy a pass to walk on that trail.
I don't know that I like the idea of paying to walk, but
Well, it sure beats fighting dudes with treasure trails.
so anyway, this is already Bryce's favorite episode. I don't know where this came from. We were like sleeping before we hit the record button, and now we've been woke.
Yeah.
Like Justin Trudeau.
Whoa.
Whoop. Anyway,
So everybody's got a bunch of money and
86% of people.
they're not going anywhere.
they got to spend some money on something. And this is actually a true fact.
Here's the only true statement coming right up.
This is the only true one. There has been a couple people that have been like, had trips planned, and now we've got this money put away, and we were wanting to do something at some point, so now we'll do it now, I guess.
Yeah, we were going to go somewhere, and now we have to stay in our backyard, so let's change it a little bit.
Yeah. And which one of those is the most expensive trips? Europe, China?
Asia.
I didn't say China, I said Asia. That is not synonymous. Jeez. No, I didn't. Prove me that those are wrong.
But like on your own time though, okay?
Yeah. So
Asia's the most expensive.
if people have some money set aside and they want to do a reno to the house, here's 10 reasons why they should consider doing a deck as opposed to doing a kitchen reno or a bathroom reno or painting or whatever. And this is on the presumption.
Or a trip to Asia.
Or a trip to Asia. This is on the presumption that they don't have a deck right now. Obviously, if you got a monster deck you built last year, probably not a wise choice to spend 50 grand on redoing that deck. But let's say you don't have one, or it's time for a new one. It's also crappy like your kitchen is.
Yes.
On equal crappiness, here's 10 reasons why a deck.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep. I'm ready.
All right. Did you know that 74% of Canadians listen to this podcast?
That's I would have thought our numbers would have been higher.
Yeah.
But
it's a little disappointing that it's that low, but we'll get there. Number 1, nope. Number 10, we're going to do this backwards. And this doesn't matter because these are not in order of like goodness level or anything. But I just feel like going backwards this week because last week I was supposed to go backwards and didn't. So now I'm making up for lost time.
Okay. I'm ready.
Number 10.
I'll try to keep up with this craziness.
Number 10 is that with a deck, because it's on the exterior of the house, most of them, 74% of the decks are also on the exterior of the house.
66% of the time.
And because there's that barrier, you can kind of give the deck a different vibe and feel and style than the rest of your house, which may have its own interior styling, right? Like you're not going to put in a super modern vibey kitchen beside a old school, like Victorian style dining room next to it. Like you're not going to clash styles like that. Your whole house is probably going to be a style. But the outdoor space,
I'd have to talk to the property brothers about this.
sure. Yeah, we should probably loop them in. They would know the stats on that.
Yeah. I don't know that I'm qualified to do this.
Okay.
Make recommendations on the inside of the house.
Well, I don't expect you to. I'm just saying.
So what I can tell you is
But
I
you
have
can
seen
make
some
recommendations on the outside.
super modern kitchens inside of really old houses, and they look sharp.
Well, they look sharp but together though?
Yep.
No, you're lying.
Mhm.
No, you can't.
I'm telling you, I can.
You can't. Don't do that.
Did it.
You can't just invalidate the first point.
This is a hit list, so go ahead.
Okay.
I'm gonna try and punch holes in your.
I'm firing
whole
the clay.
list.
I'm firing the clay, and you're shooting them down.
Yeah, well,
that's what's happening.
This will
here.
be a fun one today.
But for the most part, outside of Wade's one house he saw one time,
Yeah.
which I don't know what the percentage is on that, how many houses would be like that. But traditionally, people try to
Traditionally,
if they're doing their house properly, they're sticking with a style or a theme in the house that kind of everything works together.
Correct.
But as soon as you break that barrier of the outside, now you can get into doing something a little bit different outside, and it doesn't clash. So you can give yourself because it's pretty rare for husbands and wives to actually agree on something. Only 4% of the time does that happen.
Okay.
And so 96% of the time, one of them probably doesn't really like the style of the inside of the house. One of them's like, I love it. I like mauve walls. It's the guy that's saying that for sure.
Absolutely.
And so then this gives a chance for the other one to maybe get in on the action of style a little bit and be like, well, outside I want grays outside. Everything inside is all mauvey and purpley and whatever. And I would like grays outside, and I would like to put some modern crystal rail on there, even though inside the house, like everything's very old school.
Yep.
So it gives you an opportunity to shift things and change up your space and give you kind of multiple ambiances within your property.
Certainly.
Inside and out.
Yep.
That was the most stretching we did to get that last point. That was a
lot of work.
Sort of worked.
We had to get to 10, so.
Number 9, and the contractors listening to this aren't going to love this one, but
Cover your ears.
a deck could be DIY friendly.
It is
And
DIY friendly,
if
whether
it's-
the contractors like it or not.
Well, some are. There's a giant asterisk on this one.
63% of people are building their own decks.
Right. That's right. And that's the Saskatchewan statistic. It could be different elsewhere. I don't know. But many deck projects are DIY friendly. If we're talking about if your trip was to Asia for 4 months and you had 50 grand saved, that's probably not a DIY friendly deck.
Correct. You're hiring somebody to do
You're hiring somebody to do that if it's a bigger project. But I'm talking like if it's more modest, a little kind of like 10 by 10 square or whatever, and you're handy already, you've done some work, you blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
That can be a DIY friendly project.
Yeah.
But you may not have the experience to do your bathroom. That's a little bit more complicated when you're getting electrical and plumbing involved and whatever else. Like
Certainly.
a small deck could be a weekend project, and these other ones inside your house probably are not.
Yes.
So a little bit more friendly to tackle yourself on some of the smaller projects. If it's a bigger project, obviously you want to hire somebody.
Yeah, and it depends.
Or if you don't know what you're doing.
There also seems to be some stores, similar to ours that offer up assistance for being able to build decks, right? So people.
Where did you buy these pens from?
I don't know.
For the love of God.
What are you talking
And this
about?
stat's real. 97% of these pens don't work.
That's not true.
That's the closest stat
I blew,
of any of the
I
ones.
blew one up yesterday. But
Anyway,
there's a lot of places that you can go for help on how to build decks, right? We have some YouTube shows, and lots of people have videos out there that will actually kind of walk you through the process of how to attach a ledger and how to build the beams and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's not quite as easy for sloping sewer drains,
right.
tying in electrical. You have to be, anyways. So, yep.
Yeah.
Good call.
And
People are doing it.
to add more to this,
resources are
to add another asterisk to this, they're often not as DIY friendly as DIY people think. So they can be DIY friendly, but there's also people that they pretty much know what they're doing, but then when you go have a look at it, it's like you didn't know everything that you should have known. Like you framed this pretty well, it looks pretty good. You didn't attach your ledger properly.
Yeah.
You didn't flash it.
Or you missed
whatever.
mid-span blocking.
So you did 90% of it really good, but that 10% will kill you.
Yep.
Literally.
Yep.
All right.
Unless it's ground level.
Number 8 is multiple functions and spaces. So if you redo your kitchen with your reno money, you end up with a kitchen. Again, functionally, it's the same thing as before. You're still cooking craft dinner.
It's funny
New
that you
stove.
say that. I actually did cook craft dinner last night when I came home.
Well, it's not that much of a stretch. 84% of the time, that's what you have for lunch.
Nope. I'd say 16. 84% of the time I don't have lunch.
Oh, I had those backwards.
Yeah.
So what I mean by this is a deck doesn't necessarily just need to be a deck with a table at it. A deck can have multiple zones in it, and often nowadays they do have multiple zones. You have a kitchenette outside in a barbecue zone, and then you've got a lounging zone where your furniture's set up, and then you have a dining area where your stuff's set up, and then you might have a fire pit where you have, right? Like it can be one space, can be many spaces. If you put 50 grand into your deck, you could end up with 2 or 3 or 4 different functional zones. You put 50 grand in your kitchen, you still have a kitchen.
I think you've bastardized the number that people are spending on decks. You
No,
keep
I'm
saying
not.
50 all the time. I think more realistically, a lot of people spend 10.
Right. Most decks are 10.
Okay.
But what do you spend on a kitchen rental? 30?
Yeah, maybe that's probably pretty close.
So
somewhere between 20
I'm going
and 30.
with what people saved on these monster trips. Right?
But do you think that there was like
Wade, the stats don't lie.
Yeah, facts aside,
The stats don't lie.
really think there was that many people going? Like, I think there was a lot of people that were going 5 hours away to camp for a week. And so they've saved like $4,000 or $5,000.
Yeah, they're getting a treated deck with 10 by 12.
Right. So we're not talking about like louvered roofs and built-in fire tables and kitchens.
Maybe not, but maybe we are. Like Reno money is Reno money.
Yeah.
Like
okay.
you might have, maybe your Reno money is $800. You're going to paint.
Mhm.
But maybe your Reno money was like, we're going to do the whole house, or you're going to finish the basement. And then that is 50 grand.
Yeah.
Listen.
Anyways, 50 is a big number.
It's a big number, but it's not a crazy number though. Like most of the contractors that we listening to that build decks would be doing $50,000 decks on the
daily.
regular,
On the daily.
right?
Yeah.
So it's not crazy.
Okay.
I don't think it's crazy. Like some decks are $100,000 or $200,000.
Yeah.
Yes, the average deck is smaller. This is true. But I'm just going with like, if you were going to flip your kitchen, you were probably in it for 20 or 30. If you were going to finish your basement, you were in it for 30, 40, 50.
30, 40.
Who knows, right? Like it's up there. It's bigger than the average deck cost anyway.
Absolutely.
So what I'm saying is you can do your kitchen or you can build 3 decks. And that just like straight up stats wise is a better deal. 3 for 1.
3 for 1.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if I was going to give you $1 and you were going to give me 3/4, I win that.
Yep.
3, I get 3 and you get 1.
That's right. This is why you're the creative guy.
Right. But okay, so but even on lower budget decks, you can still pull this off. You can still pull off multiple zones. You could do a treated deck that has like what's his name? Remarkable Woodworks? Remarkable
Oh, yeah.
Mark from Toronto. He built the deck and it's got like the little curved pergola thing. He's got that little dining area.
Yeah.
And then this is actually a different deck. I thought he was building the same deck. Apparently he was building 2 different decks right now. And I asked him today, I was like, I'm so confused, dude. Where's the pergola? Like, why? Are you building 2 decks in your house? And he's like, no, this is the client's house. And I was like, oh, I missed a story somewhere that explained that you were no longer at your house. But anyway, then the deck he built there had some box planners over here and a room for some table and furniture over here. And then it had the little barbecue zone over here. And it was just all a treated deck.
Yeah.
Like that was probably, I don't want to bark their prices, but that's probably a high 4 to 5-figure deck that they just did there, like labor included. So some lower budgets can still achieve these multi-zone functions.
Yeah, I think if your deck is 20 feet wide, then you can start to talk about multi-zones. But
Yeah,
if you're
you
not
need
20 feet wide,
Correct. Yeah.
you're in a
You
single
need
zone.
over 150 square feet to start being like, I can probably break this up into multiple spaces.
And I think that's it. I don't know that we can put a dollar figure on that because you could do a 200 square foot treated deck or a 200 foot composite deck and they could be significantly different numbers.
Yep.
Just like
Yep.
just flat out square footage, you need a few different, like you need some room.
Yeah.
300 square feet.
You do.
What about storage? Multi-function. You can actually use it instead of a shed.
Right. So if the deck's up off the ground, like at least 4 feet, then you can for sure use the underneath of the deck as a storage area.
Okay, so now you don't have a shed. Save some money there.
Save some money on the shed.
Put some lights in.
Put some lights in it.
Okay, so we got a shed with a kitchen, dining room, fire table.
For $820.
American.
That's a good value right there. You got a lot of extra space. Number 7 is this one is not intrusive to your life. And what I mean by that is this construction can go on outside without impacting your day-to-day life, which right now, if people are stuck at home, is a really big benefit. You could hire a contractor. They could be out in the backyard for a month building your big project, and your day-to-day still goes on. You can still use your house, your kitchen. You're not losing sleep over anything. You're not living in a mess. It's just all happening in the back as if it's not happening.
Having done kitchen renovations before this path of my life, like when I actually installed kitchens for people, I would never renovate a kitchen. I'd build a new house.
It's the worst, right?
So I'm not even joking. I remember people standing over me being like, how long until the countertops are done so we can get the sink in? Because it's been a week that I've been washing dishes in the tub.
Yeah. You're doing a $30,000 kitchen reno. It's going to take a little bit of time.
Yeah, but you rip the whole thing apart and you move some plumbing and you change the flooring and then the cabinets go back. Like, you're 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, easy.
If there's people there every day working on the kitchen, you're 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Before you're actually back to normal.
And so super intrusive in your life. You're washing your dishes in the bathtub.
Yep.
Deck bit getting built outside? Nope. Life goes on.
It does go on. You don't get to use the outside as much as you probably did before, but you're going to use the living snot out of it once it gets finished.
And you may not have been using it before anyway.
No, you weren't. That's why you changed it. Or it was awful.
Terrible.
You were ashamed of it. You didn't want to show your friends.
Right?
Yeah. You ever been ashamed of your deck? Yeah. Exactly.
And not wanting to show it to your friends?
Yeah. See?
I got a new one.
A new friend?
Yeah. Love my shitty deck.
We got to get him a mic. Right? Why don't we have a mic set up for Bryce?
We
Because
could.
you can never hear him in the background.
We have 4 of them
Should
here.
at least put a mic pointed in his direction where you can hear hear him in the background there.
This is a big day for you.
Number 6. A deck can be a bit of a getaway spot from everyone and for everyone. So let's say you need a break from...
Be careful.
This is not a real scenario, but let's say you need a break from your kids. It's like, this is not something that Wade has to deal with.
Yeah.
But let's say for those people out there...
This for sure isn't the place where I'm going to admit to it.
But let's say the wife or you guys just need a break from each other or whatever. Like, it's one thing to go to different rooms in the house, but this gives you a space where you can actually go and get some peace and quiet away from the house, like outside of the walls. And it's just like, because you can go to a different room with kids screaming. You're still hearing the kids screaming. But a deck will give you a separate, kind of a completely separate space that has a bit of like an insulated factor to it where you can kind of get away from the rest of the people in your family a little bit easier.
Yeah, I don't.
And I don't want any messages about like, you shouldn't be talking about people getting away from your family. That's not,
As if people aren't trying to get away from their family right now.
Right?
COVID times.
You're
stuck in the house with your family?
2-3 months of them. People need a space.
I bet you the domestics are at an all-time high right now.
That's actually a true story. Yeah. I don't know the stats on that. Who would know?
I need to be a divorce lawyer next week. Divorce lawyer.
Just for a couple weeks.
Just until this is over.
Make hay while the sun shines.
For a year.
Get back to building decks.
I'll build decks in the wintertime.
Number 5. Getting outdoors and getting in touch with nature a little bit. This is good for your health. Mental health for sure. And so I think getting outside of your mundane house, again, you've been cooped up a little bit. These are even more important right now with what's going on in the world. But just a spot that you can get outside and just like enjoy the fresh air and be a little bit closer to nature.
It's going to be tricky in Simcoe because the birds of prey will have killed off all of the nice birds that you want to hear.
Right. Yeah. You might want to put a cover on your deck and so you don't get...
No, I was thinking like, so when I go out into the wild...
Yeah. Here comes a
good story.
Wade's going to age himself right here. Listen to this.
I just like the
Dude
idea.
goes bird watching.
I don't bird watch, but I like to hear them for sure. And so just recently the robins are back. And so they're active now. They make a lot of noise and anyways.
Right.
So when you go outside, that's part of it. That's like smelling the fresh air from pine trees and having like birds make noise.
Yeah.
That's the best.
Having them. I am out here now, birds. Make your noise.
Make your noise.
I'm
here to enjoy you.
Entertain me. You are on this planet for my pleasure on my deck.
This is true. Simcoe, they have birds of prey. They just kill those other ones. You can't go there. Simcoe, no nice robin sounds in your backyard.
No, you don't get the little chirpy. It's just all
vultures
like that,
flying
right?
around.
I don't know what bird that was. You would know.
Sounded like a raven to me.
Okay, perfect. But anyway, that one gets you a little bit closer to
with
nature.
his tail caught.
A little bit more
in a fan.
In touch with things. Who doesn't like spending time outdoors?
JJ.
She's part of the 7%.
No, I'm kidding. She really likes the outdoors.
Number 4.
I don't like the outdoors with the wind that we've been having.
Oh my God. Can you give me a break already? Not you, the wind. What what is this? I understand that this province is typically windy because I don't know if you noticed, there's not a lot of wind, like things to block wind here. It's pretty flat.
Yeah.
At least around Regina, right? You can get out of Regina and there's valleys around Regina, but right beside Regina, there's no, there's no wall.
Who actually just got a real dose of this was the Brolaws were out here when they drove from Winnipeg to Regina and then Regina to Saskatoon when they did that Regal trip. And then Mike from Simcoe when he drove out here with the RV as well. They both talked about
So
I know you guys, like, we had heard that it was flat out here.
oh, the flatness. I thought you meant the windiness. I was like, I don't remember it being windy, but I know when the Brolaws were here, it was cold.
Yeah, no, they were talking about how flat it was. They're like, guys, we've heard that it was flat. We've heard that this is a thing, but
If the only
you can't imagine.
yeah, if the only experience you have with Saskatchewan is driving down the number 1 highway, it will fulfill every stereotype you've ever had about this province.
There's a tree, and that was it.
Because they built the highway on the flattest part. It was like, no point in digging anything, just put it here. Get off that a little bit, and there's some activity going on. There's some like changes in geography.
Certainly.
But down that number 1, boy, it's like you just put it on autopilot, rest your knee on the wheel, and you're good for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Up, down, sideways, it don't matter.
It doesn't turn. Okay,
So-
so windy. Weather's not good out here.
No. I don't know what number that was. I don't think
We were talking about getting outdoors and enjoying nature, and
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I don't go outside. It's so awful out right now.
It is terrible. Number 4, the thing that's really annoying, I'm going to rant about this. The thing that annoys me about this is
Can't
that the
get off
temperature has been fantastic. So every morning I get up and I'm like, hey, Google, what's the temperature today? Hey, sexy daddy, it says, because I've
Settle
programmed
down.
it to say that. It's like, sexy daddy, it's going to be 28 degrees out today.
If there's anything that I hope that catches on from this podcast for the rest of time, it is that people start texting you, hey, sexy daddy. That would be.
So it says 28, and you're like, oh, that's a beautiful day. Like 28's nice. It's not scorching hot, but it's like, it's nice and warm. And so you think you're going to go enjoy this day. And then you walk outside and it's just like, and it's just wildly windy. And it's been like this for 2 weeks. And it's ruined every single day. And it's driving me nuts.
Yep.
So anyway, number 4, let's finally get there. This is your chance to become the hot spot. Become the envy of your neighbors and
I also
become
like
the hot spot.
Bryce's theory, though, where you just go get new friends. That's
Yeah, you can do
way
that too.
cheaper.
You could do that. You got to find friends that appreciate like an empty backyard, though.
Yeah.
So what I mean by this is like everybody has the friends where the party's at their backyard or whatever, because they're the ones with the fire pit in the back or the cool kitchenette or the bar area is like they got the TV outside or something, right?
Yes.
This is the cool hangout spot. It's like,
Yeah.
we're going to have a party somewhere. We should do it at Fred's house.
Fred's house.
And so you could be that person.
Yep.
And all it's going to take is building a cool space back there, throw some lights in it, throw some function in it, be the only guy of your friends that has a TV outside, and all of a sudden you're the place to go to watch the game. Remember when there used to be games?
Nope.
NBA's coming back.
Come on.
22 teams, all playing out of Disney World, presumably at the ESPN, World of ESPN, what it's called. Is that where they're doing it? Yeah, so there's going to be some basketball, but that's not till July, late July, they're going to get going again, I think.
Any fans?
No fans. No crowds.
Did you watch the UFC fight that had no fans?
No.
So apparently what the UFC did was they had this fight with no fans, but then they draped a curtain around all around the ring, octagon, and it was all black. So you couldn't see the empty seats. It was just like all you could see was the cage, right?
That's smart.
And then it didn't look like it was empty. It was just like you didn't get distracted by looking at empty seats. You just saw
So
the
I'm
fight.
surprised, like, I guess this would take a bit of technology and maybe more money than it's worth spending just for a temporary solution, but there's, like, they could just CGI the fans in. Yeah. You could just have, like,
That
3 or
would be
4 different
funny.
models of people that are just like this with a foam
They
finger.
should do like old
Foam
Nintendo
finger.
style fans, right?
Yeah.
It's like we're not even trying.
Yeah,
These
just
are
the pixels shift left and right a little bit
Yeah.
to create some sort of motion in the background.
So good. Talame's chirping you.
So I see that, and there's a story behind that too. So whatever.
You're gonna be the
in
envy
the
of
hot
it?
spot. So when the NBA gets back, I heard that the Australian Football League is firing back up. Donning Decking was talking where he's like, well, here's our chance. The rest of the world has nothing to watch. So here's our chance to expose ourselves, which Australians love doing, exposing themselves. That's a true stat too. And so now they think that this is an opportunity that everybody's going to start caring about Australian football. I'm not saying we shouldn't care about it. I'm just saying, like,
I think they're mad because
They're trying to-
everybody cares about New Zealand rugby,
yeah.
right? And they're like, this isn't fair. They're like way smaller than us. How come everybody cheers for the All Blacks?
Because that's cool.
Absolutely. If anybody had a chance.
What's
it
that
was
dance
us.
called? The haka? Is that it?
Right, yeah.
The haka?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
And on your new deck, you could be the envy.
You could do the haka. You gotta
do the
build
haka
it.
dance.
You gotta beef it up a little bit, but you could do the haka.
So-
But no, like, look at some of the projects that some of these guys are building on Instagram. Like, I want to hang out in those decks.
Absolutely.
There's like a built-in cooler or ice box with drinks, and there's a TV, and there's like whatever. Like, if I had a friend like that, somebody can. What are you? Either
Nope.
you guys want to be that guy?
Nope.
Okay.
Here's the thing, it's
I would want to hang out there, man.
It's expensive to be that friend.
Yeah.
Because you,
Yeah, you bet it
you
is.
build the deck, that's fun. And then you have to stock the
And you gotta
cooler
service it.
every weekend.
Yeah.
So
Random question here from T Brown 801 on Instagram. Have you done a show on mid-range decking options like you did with the budget decking? We have not actually done a mid-range. We could
put it on the board.
put it on the board. We have a board. We keeping ideas now,
Well, that board has ideas
so
on
we
it.
could do that mid-range decking option.
Looks like a
Sure.
brain dump over there.
Here's the problem with that though. Some guys don't really have a mid-range. Like Trex doesn't really have a mid-range. Their mid-range is the same as their.
I don't
Unless
know.
you call select their mid-range, but that's I don't know. And
Yeah,
then
we can, but yes, we can do that.
And then even TimberTech's kind of like, what's the mid-range now? Terrain? Like Terrain used to be their entry level, so did Select for Trex, and now we're just going to pretend that those are mid-ranges? No.
Focus on your list here. Let's do the mid-range list another time. And you could light up the manufacturers. You love that
All right.
stuff.
Number 3. Number 3 is you could use one of the many available mid-range decking options. So let's talk about that. So okay, we'll curve this and we'll come back to that on a YouTube show. Number 3, I may be wrong in this, but I feel like most decking options are fairly timeless. There's trends that come and go with interior styling, right? And colors and so on and so forth. It was cool to wallpaper, then it was very uncool to wallpaper. Now it's cool to wallpaper again.
Yes.
Certain, like textured paint on your walls was not cool. Then it became very cool. Then it wasn't cool again. I feel like it's coming back again, or maybe it's been back and gone again. I don't know. But things come and go with that stuff. But rarely do you ever walk onto a deck and be like, oh boy, when was this deck? What?
This one was clearly built in the 90s.
Look at the 80s deck here.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's a more timeless investment.
It's got red oak everywhere.
Yeah. Well, because older decks are wood, and wood's timeless for the most part. Right? And I don't imagine that like the composites are going to trend out as far as the colors go, because they're all replicating real wood colors, whatever. And it's not like oh, we've put in this oak replicated composite deck, and well, oak's not cool anymore. Like it's not like that. So I feel like it's fairly timeless. And the railing options, the decking, whatever. Like the deck is, as long as it still looks good and not dilapidated in 30 years from now, it's still going to look good for all 30 of those years. It's never going to look outdated.
I think they're not a knock on Regal Crystal Rail, but I think that it might end up being like a bit trendy
Could be.
and dated. You know what I mean? Like white picket rail doesn't change. It's just white picket rail. Wood balusters, I agree, but I think
for sure. There's some that may
It's
be like
possible
outliers there that they're very like Crystal Rail, they're very unique or very super modern or something like that.
yeah,
Maybe those things.
I still love it. I just think if there was something in the industry that if somebody was like pinpoint something that you think is going to be dated, that might
Tron.
that might be the one.
Tron might be the one. Yep. Number 2 is that it adds value to your home. So this is a renovation that you're going to get money back on. They say inside your house that kitchens and bathrooms are where you're going to make your money.
Sell your house, kitchen and bathroom, sell houses.
Yeah. And so if your kitchen and bathroom are currently in a state of dismay, where people that were looking at your house and wanting to buy it would look at it and be like, ugh, nope, not going to buy that, then you can add a lot of value to your house also by spending money in your kitchen or your bathroom too. However, adding a deck to your house also adds a ton of value. And the stats, and these are
As
Right?
true as any stat you'll
Right?
hear today.
These are actual, like, I've heard these ones from somewhere, that a composite deck that you put on your house will maintain like 80 to 100% of its value that you spend on putting it into your house. So if you do a $10,000 deck and you go to sell your house in 4 years, you're going to get a lot of that $10,000 back. It's going to
Anywhere
hold
from
its
like
value.
8 to 10. You have
Yeah.
it back. Okay.
And so
pretty good.
it's a savings account in your backyard, right? With
Sure.
slightly negative interest.
But wood, on the other hand,
Wood doesn't hold its value as well.
does right away. Like within the first year, it's still okay. But then after that, it depreciates pretty
And
fast.
this is a huge asterisk too, because if you take care of it, I imagine it probably does hold its value fairly decently. The problem with wood is that people don't generally take care of it. And then when somebody comes to look at buy at the house and the deck's 7 years old, it looks like garbage.
Well, and the
And
other
so-
thing is that people see that and they know that it requires work.
Right. Yeah. Even if it looks pretty, they're like, well, that's awesome, but
I'm gonna
the
have to
work
deal
I'm gonna
with
have to
that.
do to keep this up.
So make sure you do aluminum railing.
At
And then
least,
it's
yeah.
not bad.
Yeah.
Right? Just like
Yeah.
throw in for that.
So, because that's the problem when people are shopping for houses. They don't want to buy a house with a bunch of projects. Some maybe do, but nobody walks into it and is like, oh, good, the deck's crappy. So that's going to knock the price down. Like, not only are you not going to get what you put in for it, but it may actually like have negative value
Correct.
if it's super crappy, because now it's like, oh, the house is $200,000. Yeah, but now I'm going to have to replace that deck. So I'm offering $195.
Yep.
So as long as you put in, so that's where the spending money on these maintenance-free products makes a lot of sense. Because some people come in here. This is a great point that I've never really brought up with people before, but a lot of people come in, they're like, I don't want anything fancy. I'm just going to do treated because I'm going to sell my house within about 5 years. And so they, in their mind, they're thinking, I don't want to dump a bunch of money into something I'm not keeping because I'm
Right.
going to sell it. But what maybe they should be thinking is that in 5 years, that deck's going to end up costing you more money trying to sell your house than if you would have just spent the money on composite now, and then it would have added value instead of taking value away from your house in 5 years from now. Because they're not going to take care of a treated deck. Nobody does. What's the stat?
Nope.
So it's highly unlikely they're going to. So it's
I was
highly,
just sitting there digesting all of that information. I like that. I think that's going to be.
Yeah,
I'm scared for the next guy that walks in here and tells me he's buying a treated deck.
because he
I'm
only
gonna
is going to stay in that
bankrupt him.
house for 4 years. And it's
Yep.
like, oh,
I'm coming for all of it.
yeah, let me show you the AZEC vintage line. So adds value to your home.
I have a negative interest savings account for your backyard if you want.
What is Sousa referring to here? On the Instagram, Sousa Outdoor Living says, I do, laughing. Crappy decks give me an opportunity to try things. What's it? What did we talk about that he's referring to?
3 months of summer in Saskatchewan.
So
Oh yeah, you were doing a cost per wear thing here.
look at this. Here's where, you know, you get those like punctuation, where punctuation matters things. Had I read that a little differently, that says, I do crappy decks. Give me an opportunity to try things.
Poor Sousa.
When looking at the house, I see what he's saying. I think he likes
Yeah.
likes to see a project deck and be like, oh, here's a chance for me to try things.
So that's funny. I have that same feeling about kitchens and houses. JJ and I have talked about buying a house from the mid 80s and like a full got new floors, new every like because you can get them for a little bit less money and it's okay to do some work and
Yeah.
like I also enjoy rock stars and coffee, so when I see that stuff, it doesn't really bug me. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, that
Woo,
kitchen's
let's
awful.
go.
No problem.
And when you do renos yourself, then it only takes 7 to 10 years.
Exactly.
Number one, and this wasn't intentional that it's number one, but I do think that this is one of the biggest things. This building a deck on the outside, if you don't have one already, so you've got, let's say you do have the $50,000 or $30,000, and you were going to do a kitchen. Adding a
You
deck.
already have a kitchen.
You already have a kitchen. You already have a house. Adding a deck adds more square footage to your house for a third of the price that it would cost you to add an addition onto your house. So let's say you wanted a dining room. You're like,
Yes.
we have a kitchen, we got the living room, we would like some more space to entertain. Let's building a dining room. Let's build a dining room. To build that dining room extension off the side of your house, to hire that out and get that built, is going to cost you, who knows, depending on the market, but $200 to $300 a square foot.
I was going to say $250 a square foot.
Yeah. So that's a good chunk of change. That's a big reno right there.
Yes.
But a deck, it may only cost you $50 a square foot hired out. 100 if you want to go wild,
Yep.
right? Like if you want to do some high-end products and kind of give her, $100 a square foot is going to get you a long way. But most of them are going to be around that $50 installed a square foot. So we're talking like, I said a third. It could be less than that even.
Yep.
But that's going to give you, like, as far as a functional, usable space, and that becomes your dining room. And some people would say, like, we have short summers here, so you can only use it for 5 or 6 months or whatever comfortably. And it's like, yeah, but you could add a screen room or a 3-season room and use that thing 9 months, 8-9 months, and still be well under the cost of putting an addition on the house.
Yes.
Now you're at the 100 square foot to add that screen room on top as well.
Yes.
Or 120 square foot.
Yep.
But now you've extended the use out of it, put a heater in there to 8-9 months.
Yep.
Sure, you might not want to be in there in the middle of winter, but you could also do a 4-season room on there. You could close that thing in and keep it like heated and insulate the floor and whatever else.
Yeah, but then you're too far. Now
you're
building
encroaching on it.
Yep.
Yeah, you're getting closer, but you can still do that for under $200 to $300 if you're not pouring a foundation for it and whatever else. So anyway, but you could get a lot of usable time out of the year on a deck that's going to cost you anywhere from, let's call it $50 to $150.
Yep.
On the very high end. And that's like anywhere from a fifth to a half of what you're going to pay to do an addition onto the house.
Yep.
And have the same function. So,
yeah. And people I've talked to that have had bad decks, right? It was like an old one. It was worn out. It was treated, and then they tore it off and they built a new one.
Yeah.
So they had stopped using it for the last few years, right? Because it was just like, it was ugly. They didn't want to be out there. You don't want to go in the room that's ugly, and you don't want to use the deck that's ugly. And so they revive it. Yep. And now all of a sudden it's like, now they want to entertain. So back to number 3, 4. You want to be the envy. Number 4, right? You want to bring friends over and show them
your deck.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was not going to finish that one, but
I did.
You jumped on it.
Yep. The deck. Okay, if there's any questions from the Instagram, and I'd love to hear people's feedback, because there are more reasons. We just gave you 10. Are there more reasons that you would say that we missed as to why somebody should spend their reno dollars on the deck on the outside of the house instead of on the inside of the house? So if you've got some of that feedback for Instagram here, let's hear it, because we'll share it. We always like adding one to the end, right? A number 11. We need a number 11 on here.
We should have only done
10 and a
9.
half.
Would have bothered people.
Right. Outside of that, while we're waiting for questions, if they're going to come, we'll give them a few moments here to put questions in here. Go through them once more?
Yeah, just a
you
quick
want me to
wrap
do
up.
You want me to do a wrap up? Quick wrap up. Okay. And then we're going to get back to that mid-range decking conversation. I'm itching. Number 10 we talked about was the ability to do a different style or vibe or feel outside the house from what your house kind of theme is.
Craftsman style inside, Taj Mahal outside.
Sure. Number 9 is that the project could be DIY friendly, whereas other projects inside the house may not be.
Yep.
Number 8 is you can put multiple functions and uses and spaces outside. The storage, the storage shed underneath, you can have the kitchenette, the lounge area, all these different things, as opposed to just, at the end of the day, a kitchen is a kitchen, no matter how much money you put into it.
Correct.
Number 7.
Some people have their kitchen as their office right now because of COVID.
That's right.
But
non-intrusive to your life was number 7. So you can get this project done without changing your day-to-day life at all, which is important because a lot of people are home right now.
Yes.
Number 6 is it gives you a getaway spot from everyone else in your home. And so it just allows you, it's a better barrier from the activity that's going on in your house. And so if your spouse and you are fighting, it's easier to be outside.
Never happens.
Your kids are screaming, it's easier to be outside. Yep. Number 5 is it gets you a little bit closer to the outdoors, the nature, and the bald eagles.
Yep. And the robins.
And the robins. Number 4 was you could become the neighborhood envious spot of the kind of hot spot of your friends, your social group.
Yep.
You could have the backyard. Some people want that, some people might not.
Only 10 people at a time, though.
Right. They're increasing that, aren't they? Here to
June 8th. Party
to what?
10. I don't
20? No, it's 10 now.
It's 10 now.
I think they're increasing it June 8th.
Won't
number
matter.
3
They're
is
opening the bars on June 8th, and that'll change everything.
Number 3 was that the materials on deck projects don't seem to become dated. They're timeless. They're more timeless than interior renovation trends. Number 2, and the reason that's important is you're going to get more years out of your reno before you feel like you need to do it again. Yep. Number 2 is that it adds value to your home come resale time. Maybe more so than other projects.
Caveat on there, but yeah.
And And number one is the fact that you can add completely brand new square footage to your living space at a fraction of the cost of doing an addition to your house.
Yep. I like that
That's
one
a
quite
big
bit.
one.
Yep.
That's a big one.
Okay. Quigley's got some feedback.
So there is a comment that came in here. Quigley Deck says, if you take a trip to Asia or Europe, when you come back, you still don't have a deck. When you invest in a deck, it's an investment you can enjoy for a long time. So that's a good point. The trip is
I would argue that not all people have Alzheimer's and forget the trip when they come back, but
you can't get drunk on a memory.
yeah, I think you can.
So
anyways,
it's a point though.
That's absolutely a valid point.
There is for sure the caveat saying like building memories is more important than buying things, right? But a deck is also going to do that for you as well.
Absolutely.
A deck isn't a car or a tennis racket. Like you're gonna, well, that's a bad example because you'll use your tennis racket for memories as well. But it's not just an inanimate thing that you buy.
I have some pretty good memories about my first car.
Yeah, maybe. The deck you're going to create memories on as well, right? So you're going to get both.
Everybody builds memories.
Mitcon Deck says somewhere to grill.
Absolutely.
And so I guess we touched on the fact you could do a kitchenette outside or a barbecue zone, but yeah, like we thought that's actually maybe that's more important than I'm even giving it credit for. The number one thing people do on their decks is put a barbecue on there and barbecue. Maybe I took that for granted
because it was just like, what else would you do?
That's what you do.
Absolutely put the barbecue on it.
But if you don't have a deck, you don't barbecue.
We skip
for
the
most
obvious,
part, right?
When we moved into
maybe too obvious, yeah.
We move into our new neighborhood in the Greens, and you've seen some of the houses on the street, right? Like we have the smallest,
just one. I haven't ever paid attention to any other house other than the house.
Exactly.
On your street.
So there's some pretty expensive houses on our street, and when we first moved in, I didn't have the deck done. I didn't have the builder build it. So I'm on the driveway with the grill, the barbecue's out front. They got the overhead door open, and I'm standing in the driveway with the barbecue going. And JJ was like, "We have to get the deck built because you cannot continue to barbecue on the driveway." And so then I stepped it up. I got like a white tank top. They're a wife beater. That's what they're called. Right? And I spilled like mustard on it, and then I would stand at the barbecue holding a Pabst,
PBR.
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
You're absolutely drinking Pabst.
And she was just like, this is so cliched. I was like, yeah. Anyways, my neighbor, whose house is like significant, he thought it was hilarious. He came over and was like, this is really funny. And I was like, yeah, it won't last. I am going to do a deck in the back. I just haven't for now.
And I do have other shirts. I know you've only ever seen me in this one, but okay. Anything else? Wade?
Nope. That's
Bryce?
it.
Are we done for today?
Phone's ringing.
Okay. Yep. The store's open, so we're going to take off. If you guys have any comments or feedback, hit us up on Instagram. Thanks for tuning in. Next week will be episode 82. See you next week.
You've been listening to the Ultimate Deck Podcast.
Ultimate Deck Podcast.
Brought to you by the Ultimate Deck Shop. Shop with us at www.ultimatedeckshop.com or check us out at all the social networks we can keep up with. Hit us up for any collaboration or sponsorship opportunities. Thanks for listening.